GameMarx.
Welcome to GameMarx, the podcast for Xbox Live indie games and development. GameMarx, where gamers control the means of production.
Hey everyone, welcome to our podcast. This podcast, we're going to blow through a couple news items at the front, just kind of get that out of the way, and then get into our 2013 predictions. And our predictions are indie game related, indie developer related based, right? So, not predicting who's going to dominate the next console or, whether Studio X will survive or something. I really tried to keep them focused on indie gaming. We had quite a bit of discussion about
games we're playing,
games we've played. So hang out for the outro and after the outro and listen to the outtakes. If you want to grab and listen to that. A lot of discussion on Spec Ops: The Line and Walking Dead. No spoilers in either of those. So you can listen to them safely. But those games took a lot of recognition. Spec Ops: The Line was Ben Crenshaw, Yahtzee's #1 game of 2012, and VGA's famously picked Walking Dead as Game of the Year. They're both deserving. They're not, this isn't a debate on that. But kind of, so I played them both recently and kind of just summed up why. So hang out in the extra for that. We didn't kick off with an ad. We haven't talked about Sunburn in a while. But my first news item here is there's a blog post I will link to by Dark Genesis on what's coming and what's in the Sunburn game engine. So a lot of the stuff we were rumoring last year, builds have dropped and things have been updated, and so he's kind of done a mono game and a Unity XNA article review as well, and then he just did this really good Sunburn article running through it. What is Sunburn? What does it include? What's it support? What is it now? And then where is it going? It's a really good article. I'm trying to scroll down here. Current state. Yeah. So I think he talks a little bit about where it's going and things like that. But it's looking pretty good. It's a good write-up. If you want to just get a synopsis, an overview of Sunburn. This has kind of like been a silently launched thing. I don't know if you saw this or not, Dylan, but there's a Humble Store now. Like
I did not
Bundle
see
has
that.
A Humble Store. Well, what they don't have is a centralized store that you just go in and buy things.
Yeah.
What they do is they do the digital distribution and the payment systems and give you a widget you embed on your website to sell your game. So if we wanted to sell our games from our website, we would sign up for the Humble Store, get set up, put all our assets there, and then people can use PayPal, Amazon payments, whatever. Run through that. They deal with all the digital distribution information that it has to be done. You also gets added to your Humble Store account, your Humble Bundle account. So I don't know if you've done this yet. Have you made an account on Humble Bundle?
I've done that.
You attach all your prior Humble Bundles to that account. Now you can re-download all your games. Well, so will the ones that you buy on the store there as well. And it's growing quite popular among indies. The article I'm linking to, unfortunately, fucking Ben Kuchar. I'm going to get into game journalism here in a second. And this is kind of where it sets it up. Because it's like the title is How the Humble Store May Challenge Steam, the business of helping indie games devs sell. It's like, No? What fucking weed are you toking, man? This is a widget you embed on your site to sell your game directly.
It's completely open. It is the very definition of open.
Some of the ones doing it, the game they're giving you is on Steam. They're giving you the Steam code through the Humble Bundle sale.
Interesting. But
also,
games journalism...
Steam, not that hostile to indies.
It's not, but it's also...
It's not open.
It's not open.
But they take a lot of indies.
So this is kind of a third way. You've got Steam, which is closed and kind of curated. You've got things like Desura, which are both your marketing and your distribution. And then you've got this, which says you do all your own marketing. I'm gathering.
Yes.
There's not a... It's a payment mechanism. Store. Okay. You do all your own marketing. Here's how you distribute it.
Like,
but, of course...
I couldn't even get a list of games that are using it.
The issue with games journalism, though, is they see digital distribution and they say Steam, because Steam.
No effort put into it. So speaking of no effort put into it, Ben ran an article on a Walking Dead game, not a sequel to
the FPS trailer.
The FPS trailer
that they've released. I saw something about that.
Well, it was fake.
Watched. Really?
Yeah, it wasn't a real trailer. That was some fan edits from some beta build or something done, and all these stores ran on it. And Ben got all uppity and shit about the trailer and how, like, this was just an obscene, like, how could they release this? This is horrible. Doesn't even look, and all that. And then, like, he put in this big retraction, and the people are fucking like, oh, this is why you're great, you're putting this big retraction of, like, how you're doing it. And it's like, no. Because, like, in there, he's like, I researched this. How could this happen? Well, I researched and I looked into this to explain how it was legitimate. And, the first thing is, like, I found the source of the trailer. I clicked through all the links of all the game sites and found that the source of the trailer was on YouTube, where most companies upload their promotional videos. First of all, bullshit. Okay? I am a member of GameSpress. As an indie developer, a game publisher, alright, you can be a member of GameSpress to put your stuff up there. And they send out constant content blasts of, here's all the raw assets, the videos, the screenshots. My inbox is deluged by GameSpress every day with 40 to 50 press releases a day from major studios about their games. Okay?
Yeah.
That YouTube is the authoritative source is bullshit. They give them to the sites so that the sites can host them in their own content delivery system. It's kind of a scratch your back, I'll scratch mine, or scratch my back, I'll scratch yours type system of like, here's our trailer, but we give it to you, Game Trailers, so you can host it on Game Trailers.
And get the ad revenue.
And it's not, yes, get the ad revenue. It's not on YouTube. Also,
incidentally though,
this YouTube account, hold on, this YouTube account was called TWD Survival Instinct, and the only video ever uploaded by this account. How is that not a red flag right there? This is not legit.
Well, I was going to say, if YouTube is your argument, though, that's at best a neutral. That's like not a negative or a positive, because yes, some people release game YouTube trailers, but a lot of people who are not publishers release
You said
things.
YouTube, and we went, and then you said a YouTube user who's only ever posted the one video and that was it? And then it's like, oh, well, obviously you need more confirmation on it. And his only other backing was that one of the guys of the marketing team publishing the game posted it to his blog or tweeted it or something. And he basically said, oops, I'm sorry. Like, we do a lot of things, and I thought we put that out. And I was like, oh, we put that out. I better, blog that and mention that. And it was just kind of a mistake on his...
So basically, his research was, it came from YouTube, someone associated with the game mentioned it, and in both cases, because everyone else said it was real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. At no point does Ben reach out to his contacts for verification or anything of a trailer he's going to rip. And he did. His other article, it's linked from this one, you can read, was just ripping this up and down, left and right. And it's like, you're trying to, like, say, I'm sorry that you misled me. You know what I mean? It's like, he's not really sorry. He's not really like, yeah, okay, so I screwed up here. He should be like, I screwed up. I didn't fact check this.
Well, again, it's an issue of, people complain all the time that social media beats the real press to the scoop, and here the real press is following social media because they've, in theory, vetted this. It's all over.
So this leads to an article that came out today, actually, on State of Games Journalism from Games Industry. It's going to be a multi-part series. They're going to interview some other writers. I'm looking forward to part 2. I think is going to interview Adam Sessler. And I'm really interested in him because through his Sessler soapbox and his one-off videos, I have a really strong, good opinion of Adam, of not being that guy, not being the Ben Kachara end of it, right? I just really like, all right, he gets it, he takes stands, he comes on there. I mean, I remember 4 or 5 years ago, a soapbox where he was like, I want to cover more indie games, and my problem is discovery. Like, I don't know how to find out about these games, And it's like, now that problem's kind of being solved, that was one of the things we talked about with GameMarx, right? It was like, let's be that solution for him. Let's try to, funnel up the chain, that was a fantasy idea, right?
Well, it's the same fantasy many, many people have on the internet.
Correct.
And none of them are successful, so we shouldn't feel too bad.
No. It's a good article. I don't think it gets into some of the... It gets into the market side of the journalism issues, basically where people's eyeballs are reading, how they go to YouTube and Twitch TV and get all the gameplay, footage they need to make up their mind, and reviews are kind of less important now. Long console cycle means, low releases and things like that until the next ones come out. So if you're, do you cover free to play? Do you not? So it's like, it's judging that side of it, but it's not jumping in the other side of, we're really bloggers. Like, we haven't separated us other than getting a following, right? There's not a separation between Ben and what I may post, okay?
Right.
It's really, like it says game journalism, I still think it's just games press. It's just enthusiast press.
Yeah.
It's not journalism.
The difference is, in theory, someone like Ben has posted more. He has, offered more commentary than we have, in theory.
Stegs just pointed out, too, that first they have to find our site before they can funnel up.
Yes.
And, now we have Indie Gamer Chick, so we can step away and not worry that role is not filled.
What if we created a site?
People are reading hers.
What if we created a site that would funnel up all of these indie game sites
into one site?
Into one site.
A mega site. A Voltron.
So that someone
Indie Voltron. Indietron.
So that someone like Adam Sessler could subscribe to that one RSS feed and know everything.
So if we've Voltron the indie sites...
I call not in on the pink.
Which... Well, there's not actually a pink lion.
I know.
There's a pink Power Ranger. There's not a pink lion.
I'm mixing my metaphors.
Which one is Indie Gamer Chick? Is she kind of like the base one? Is she the one they all anchor off of? But where does that put Artemis Octopus? Which one is Master Blood? Is he a foot?
Is this necessarily the best? There's a reason argument by analogy breaks down.
Or are you saying this breaks down because what we really need to do is go with the vehicle Voltron, the shittier version Voltron?
I'm saying I don't know enough about Voltron to
Defenders of the Universe.
We'll save this until we can bring in a Voltron expert, John Robbins, to the case to weigh in.
Or we could just not compare it to Voltron. We don't... Not everything has to be compared to Voltron.
Says you.
Steg said somebody was a toenail, but he didn't put a name to it. Alright. This was interesting, and I'm going to cover this because I'm going to set this up for something we're going to do later. Sony got a patent, basically, that targets pre-owned games. Essentially, they bought a patent that allows them to, RFID chip or somehow chip the discs in a console so that those discs become locked to that console and that account on that console, or however they want to do it. So it's like if you go out and you buy Assassin's Creed 4 or 5, whatever it came out, that when you put that disc in, it's become locked to your system. You can't sell it. You know, you would have to unlock it there. And that's a pretty big thing if they launch that. Sony has a history, though, like they did this with the PS3 and then backed out, of like going with these huge big DRM plans, but then not actually like shipping them.
I don't know. I mean, as the PC market gets bigger, and again, like I said in the outtakes, these things go in cycles. PCs and arcades and consoles. As the PC market gets bigger, Sony really, like, the console market is theirs to lose. And if Sony kills the console market and funnels more people to the PC, they're kind of out of the video game market. So, they can only shoot themselves in the feet.
Yeah, that's true. The reason I bring this up is we've been invited to guest on the Sunday Morning Gamer podcast. Should be in iTunes soon, I'm told. They have like 20 episodes. They haven't gotten their iTunes shit together yet.
Well, iTunes takes a while to approve the feed.
They haven't submitted to iTunes yet.
Well, then they are extremely behind them.
Yes.
No, that's not an insult. That's just saying iTunes takes forever.
iTunes can take a while as well. Although I think once you have like 20 in the feed, it goes a little faster. Like
it probably
when you put a new podcast in there, it can take longer.
And that may be what they were.
But anyway, we're gonna go on there in a couple weeks. Go on their podcast and have a physical versus digital debate. So I mean that's a gamer podcast. It's not a game developer podcast. So we're gonna have it from the gamer side. Physical gaming versus digital gaming, the future, what's going on. So that looks to be really good because it looks like we have a pretty good, like, Fox News style panel of extremists forming.
Do you want to use a different example?
I don't know of a better, more fair and balanced example that I could use. They're fair and balanced, though, because they have extremists on both sides.
Yelling.
That's balance.
All
It is.
sorts of crazy.
Yelling is not exactly...
And we have Dylan, the extreme middleist. So we have extreme middle and extreme left and extreme right. That's what I'm calling you now, by the way. You are extreme
But I'm not
middle.
going to yell. I'm not going to yell like I'm...
Well, the extreme middle
Well, no,
is
nobody's
not
going to yell because
yell.
when they record their podcast, everybody has headphones.
Oh.
So, like, if
You
you
will
yell,
blast
you're
your
going to, like,
own
blow out your
ears
own
out.
ear.
Well, then we're going to have like an NPR-style roundtable. Let's say that.
Yeah, okay, maybe. It's going to be Meet the Depressed.
We're going to be talking about physical versus digital today.
And that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. I don't know why I felt compelled to say that, but I think
That
that's
doesn't
only
even-
because SNL. So.
It's SNL, like, so
The
those
SNL
skits,
sketch.
those skits run together.
Sketch.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing that. Look for that in a couple weeks. Alright. Last, we have a Kickstarter I want to talk about. GameStick. So, this is the Ouya Mark II. This is a, see if I get the picture here. Let me pause you. There's the image up of this. So this is a little thumbstick looking device, but it's not a thumbstick. It is an HDMI port. Plug it into your TV, and then you've got a controller pad, which also the controller pad holds the HDMI stick. So you just take it anywhere, plug it into any TV, and boom, you've got your gaming console. This has... Okay, so the Ouya had a bunch of red flags, right? The Ouya was like, okay, you gotta understand sales of a console, support, number of games you expect to be released on it. It's running Android again here as well. So it had a whole bunch of, like, understand the market, okay? This has a whole bunch of red flags for a whole bunch of different reasons. Number one out the gate, Ouya asked for $950,000, $1 million or something.
Yeah.
They asked for a high amount. They asked for, yeah, that's what it sounds like to get something out the door is your bare minimum.
They were expecting, though, they needed, in fact, to build a large install base. Their problem with money was that they were asking $99 a console, which just wasn't going to work. What are these guys asking?
So $79 a console.
Okay.
They sold some at $69 for the early tier.
Okay.
They are funded because they're only asking for $100,000 total.
What?
Yes.
So
now,
a very small install base, which means it's not as much of a target for developers.
This video is, by the way, I would love if I had video processing technology to correlate Kickstarter success with camera aperture settings. Because man, does this fucking have a field of view on this video. That is some depth of field. I think some of it's digital depth of field enhancement, man. That is a sphere.
Somebody was a
production values in this video.
Man, it looks fancy.
Art major.
Looks nice.
Digital art major.
So high-end.
They go, oh wait, so
Ooh,
this is
pretty.
This is Q1. This pretty dashboard looks like a fucking Ouya dashboard. If you've seen the preview builds of what the Ouya system looks like, it looks like that. So that was kind of a knock against it. They talk about leveraging existing infrastructure. I wonder if somebody was to do... By the way, there's very little gameplay showed. It's a whole bunch of talking heads holding this device, talking about how wonderful it is. Now, there's going to be a few sequences up here that also set off flags. Right here. They need $100,000. This studio that can do this for $100,000, whatever, right? They apparently have a powder-coated printing CNC machine to run mock-ups off of.
Okay.
Right? Like, okay, that stuff right there was more than $100,000. You have money from somewhere else. Part of it, if it's just the cynical side, if you look at their Kickstarter page, the splashing of logos of who have covered the story looks like, yeah, they just did their marketing PR campaign through Kickstarter, and instead of paying someone to get on all these sites, they got paid $200,000 to be on all these sites.
And do pre-sales.
Kickstarter is a store. Now, here's another thing that I have that's going to come up. All right, right here in this video clip, GameStick is booting. They're going to, like, navigate the menu. Nobody ever has seen playing a game. You can see them navigating menus all day long. Again, the menus look like the Ouya menus.
Again, I'm guessing these are not standard Android games.
Everyone's hands, they're quick clips and they're quick cuts. All the controllers are Xbox 360 controllers. They're not that controller that they're showing. This thing ships in April.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah. This is so... This more than any other project screams scam. You know, that... and unfortunately, like, they're getting the people left and right. Like, when I looked at this morning, they were, like, at 120. This evening, they're at 190,000. Right?
Yeah.
And they're selling people on this idea. Again, he's not using that controller they showed in that sequence, you know, that he was just playing.
Well, I don't know. That's just... Actually, it would make a lot of sense to have something that you could plug any USB controller into. But
if you're going to make a USB controller that can be plugged into anything, then
it's not. The controllers aren't going to be plugged into it. The controllers are going to be in that little stick. Is going to be a Bluetooth or Wi-Fi dongle.
Yeah, that's what I got the impression.
That's going to connect to the controller,
and the controller is the console, basically.
I guess
it's a plug and play.
It just plugs in your HDMI port. It just plugs in your television.
It's a plug and play!
And again, though, the issue with not showing any games, Android, like, there's not, just because they're using a pre-existing platform does not mean that there are a lot of pre-existing games that will just work with this setup. And even you have to wonder, I mean, I'm assuming it's going to be fundamentally different from the Ouya version of Android as well. So,
well, I almost wonder if the people who got the Ouyas, like in the little box and all that, like the box, it was just like this little board inside this box. It was like one board and a lot of space. Like it was 90% space and one tiny little board. It was almost like Ouya is selling Raspberry Pis. You know? And I almost like, I wonder if somebody digs enough, because it has an Ouya-style interface, and their FAQ says, doesn't say what, but their FAQ says here, how can it stand up to other AAA, whatever, does that replace competition? Where does it say? There's somewhere where they say we were able to leverage, you know, because of our position, PlayJam has been bringing games to TV for years. We started out as pay TV networks for the past, and so basically, like, we have this infrastructure to leverage and bring.
Wait, did they say pay TV networks?
Yeah.
That's.
I'm thinking, like, remember those crappy, like, N64?
Yes, I do.
In the hotel room?
Yes, I do. That's not a good sign, because I don't think that means they understand the gaming industry, if that's your history.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those worked because you were a captive audience.
So I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch this one play out. It supposedly ships the month after the Ouya ships.
It would be nice to see an Android console that is affordable and works, but
if you told me there was an Android console and it was $250, I'm listening now.
Yeah.
Like, that seems realistic. These $99, $79...
No.
No. And again, like, they're not saying that they just won't be that on launch, so it's almost like, oh, I can wait and see. There was another Kickstarter. I don't think I tagged it to talk about it, but American McGee has a Kickstarter up. And I looked at that, and I love American McGee. I love the stuff that he has done. I loved Alice Madness Returns, and some of just the world and the characters. Not so much the gameplay, okay? I love that stuff that he's done. And, you know, here's this odd fantasy action RPG setting. I read it was free to play. Like, okay, I'm done. I'm out. You're going to release a game that's free to play. I'm not interested in a free to play game from you. I'm sorry. The whole idea of, like, we're going to have Spitonium, or whatever the hell, that you use, and you can get it by fighting in game. You won't ever have to, you know, we promise not to be awful and make you have to buy it to advance up. You can get it just by playing the game. But it's just like, I don't want that. Can I give you...
the fact is they have to
give you $5, $10 for the game?
They have to stay in business somehow.
Yeah.
So.
But then it also tells me, it's like, that means a lot of your core gameplay mechanic is going to be grindy.
Yep.
Like, you gotta sell the Spitonium, or whatever they're calling it. I don't know if they're calling it Spitonium. This popped up in my mind. So, alright, so that wraps up the news. Alright, how do you guys want to do this? Do you want to, like, go all at once, or do you want to kind of, like, go, like, how many predictions do you have?
I have 4, but, I mean, I would prefer to go all at once, because I think that would be easier than trying to...
So, I have
6.5.
I have 4...
But, like, 4
plus a wrap-up, but 3 of my 4 have 3 to 4 bullet points each.
Yeah, that's basically what mine are.
So like, they kind of have to go
I think this will happen. If this happens, then this will happen. If this doesn't happen,
so
here's the alternate scenario.
I don't have a switch statement of logic. I don't have a Boolean case logic going on. I basically have, like, this is the segment, and then these are the players in the segment, and this is where they go. So you want to kind of go all at once, then? Is that kind of the vote?
I think that would be easier, at least with ours.
All right.
Since we have all these...
all at once? You're in favor of the all at once? All right. Who wants to go first?
I'm the weakest link, so I'll go first.
I wrote these today at like 7, so because I just remembered this evening.
I think you committed, Cicely. You're going to write yours up. I guess I'm going to write mine up.
I'm going to try to write mine up.
I'm going to try to, yeah.
I don't know that mine are worth it,
but just to like,
we'll see. At
the end of the year, go, we're fucking idiots, and now it's confirmed. Why are you listening to this show? All right.
I'm all nervous about them now.
Okay, number one prediction, or any order.
Okay.
Mine are sequenced, but
I'll do them in order because they all are kind of there. Okay, number 1. When the Xbox Infinity comes out, it won't have an indie channel for the launch window, which I am stating is the first 3 months. Number 2. They will bury it again when it does come. Number 3, they will still not allow Indie Connect games. Number 4, in an effort to regain the non-Halo COD Blops crowd, Xbox Live will set tiers like the cable providers.
So wait. What do you mean by that? Do you mean like gold and silver we have now? Or do you mean like
basic extended monthly digital, like you pay to get more channels?
Yeah, kind of like that. Like the first level is for the moms and dads who just want to play the Netflix.
Like, okay, $30 a year is online play.
Like first you have your
Netflix.
But
there's a $150 tier now.
You're not going to have the highest tier to use Netflix and Hulu.
No, but
okay.
I see that. My number 5 prediction is like at the highest tier they will offer free games like the PSP Plus. So as long as you stay at that highest tier, you get those free games.
Okay, so they'll do a PlayStation PSN network.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, free gaming.
And if they don't manage to deal with the cable internet provider directly, they will look to high-end specialty sites like ESPN, Watch ESPN, and HBO Go to provide entertainment in direct competition to cable.
All right. So you did go very consumer with it versus mine. Like I didn't get into that, but I think...
No, I started indie and I went...
Yeah.
You started with, like, you have been hurt by Microsoft deep down.
Well, I can get behind...
soul.
I can get behind the... It's going to come back up on my list. Number 1 with the indie channel. A little bit of it was almost like Battlestar Galactica. Like, all this has happened before and will happen again, you know?
Yeah.
So say we all.
But I can see the last point that what you're saying is Xbox and Sony will attempt to acquire their own, like, you can only watch this show on Xbox.
Yeah, because Watch ESPN seems to be doing very well, and HBO Go would do better if you could do it independent of having to pay for that particular package.
But it's actually not a bad idea, because Hulu has been doing some of their own content, I think.
Yeah, Hulu is making their own content.
And Netflix is doing Arrested Development.
The British Heroes, Misfits, is now a Hulu-only show, right?
Yeah.
Like they're paying for more seasons. Unfortunately, several of the main members of the cast left the show, died, or the actor got arrested.
Wow.
So, like, a lot of the favorite members of the cast are gone. I don't know that it can rekindle, because it's like, it's not just like one character is getting replaced and you have to love the new guy who kind of fills in that role, but the rest of the crew is there, which already happened once on the show. Now it's like, it's almost a whole new cast, and they're trying to like redefine everything, and I watched a couple episodes, but you're right, it's original content now for Hulu.
Yeah.
So is that the wrap up? Is that the predictions? All right.
My first one is probably my wildest prediction. I'm going to go ahead and say that the next Xbox will have some sort of app store. I think that could really go either way. But given that Microsoft is now selling on tablet, desktop, and phone, that would be crazy not to.
So when I say App Store, are you like beyond games? Like,
I am saying beyond games because like I think if they
on
go...
on your tablet, on your phone, you could download Better Budget 2.0.
I suspect it would be more like the phone. If they go open, I think they have to. I think also if they go RT, XAML RT
like
or
when,
HTML JS,
they
have to.
National Lampoon's Summer Vacation when, what was the name of the family?
Griswolds.
The Griswolds. When the Griswolds broke out the console to plan their vacation.
I don't think it'll be like that.
Like, we'll be able to get an app and plan our vacation Griswold style.
I think...
And then Rusty will grab the controller and start shooting the station wagon?
I don't know about that, but like I say, if they go with...
Because that's the future I want to live in, Dylan.
If they go
that's the future I want to see.
If they go with WinRT, it will be branded as apps. Xbox has already started branding things as apps. However, I think if they go with apps, and if they go with an WinRT style app store, it's not going to be in the real games like XBLIG is. It's going to be stuck off with the apps, and... You know, people are not going to be happy about that if that happens. Community wouldn't look like XNA because, you know, with all the RT tools out there, it's going to have a lower barrier to entry, and you know.
Well, okay. So what you're saying is the tight knit XNA community that we have had or has existed.
We're going to get like, hey, I got Unity, and
we're going to be on MSDN forums, and it's not going to be this. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I think if either Microsoft or Sony adopt an App Store model, it's gonna push the other one in that direction. If neither does, then it's gonna take someone like Apple getting into the game to do it. I don't think Steam will do it because, you know, there's still gonna be a closed system even if they come out with console. Which leads me to my second prediction. I think that when the specs are released for the Steam console, there will be a mixed reaction. One, we'll also see other PC manufacturers jump into that ring, just like they did with the media and mini PCs. The first generation is going to be for early adopters because it's going to be too expensive compared to the other consoles. And a less than ideal amount of support for Linux. I think it'll be like considered like visionary, but the sales probably won't be there. But Valve doesn't have to have a winner in the first release. They just have to get there. Prices are going to come down. Developers will build in Linux support if something like that comes out. And because they're not a one-size-fits-all console like the Wii U or Xbox or the PS3, they can have a more aggressive release schedule like iOS or Android. You know, come out with something every year that's slightly better. My third prediction, and I've talked about this before, I think Kickstarter is going to have what I'm going to call its eBay moment. Like, at some point, eBay stopped being the site where you could just take stuff from your attic and sell to people, and it became like the site where if you have a business, you want to get your stuff put on it. It's either something's going to kickstart that change. It's either going to be, a high-profile failure, just an increase in the level of spam and noise, more rule bending for some of the high-profile projects, which we've talked about, or just more shifts toward being a store. But Kickstarter is going to have to evolve. I think it will go more the store route. Just because I don't think they can sell the concept of, with crowdfunding comes risk to people. We're going to see more seemingly random rules and decisions. Like you've said about...
From Kickstarter?
Yeah, like the DMCA takedown and some of the restrictions they came out with, which didn't seem to... more support for the store model over the investment model. But I think it's going to remain the best hope for both independent and developers and studios looking for more freedom for publishers. The real danger is the latter eclipsing the former, where it becomes primarily about big-name developers and not as much about the smaller ones. I think it's going to keep growing. The comparison to eBay was it did not lose market share when Amazon and bigger name sites, so I don't think like Indiegogo or anything is going to take over because it was first. If it declines in a couple of years, it's because another model is going to hit, and we're going to kind of lose the utopian vision that we had with crowdfunding, and something else is going to replace that. And my fourth prediction is that in game journalism, in major game journalism, the term indie is going to be questioned. And I think we had this discussion at some point that it's so broad, and it's getting broader as indie studios come up.
Indie is Fez.
Yes.
And indie is Double Fine.
Exactly. Well, indie is Double Fine. Not only that, but like even someone like Fez is much higher level than a lot of people who are out there making.
Fez because it is only Phil Fish.
Right.
It is one guy.
But I'm not only talking about that.
How about instead of Fez, Dustin Elysian Tail? Right. It is one guy.
Exactly. It's still one guy, but he doesn't have the name recognition that.
Also, apparently, that game is about genocide. It's another dark. You finished it, you didn't win it game that ties into our outtakes conversation.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is mostly the scale of developers. Indie can encompass both small developers trying to break out on iOS or Android to people on Steam. Like Telltale is kind of considered indie, isn't it? Or is it?
Yeah, they're indie, and I think they proved it because Walking Dead is on iOS, PSN, Xbox Live, Steam.
Not to take anything away from them,
Android too.
But if you're making licensed games, you're in a different position than your average XBLIG developer. So there is a broad, and I hope someone is going to have that discussion. Although I hope it's, if it comes up, it's more reasonable than sensational. I kind of compare it to a lot of the flap that was made over the Fake Geek article. Do you remember that?
Which...
They were talking about the concept of just fake geeks, like some...
Okay, alright, yeah.
Where, basically, there's a serious discussion that needs to be had. And both sides are bringing different sets of definitions to the table and touch on real issues. But both sides are going to be too easily offended and too quick to attack for anything productive to emerge. And that is what you don't want, but that could easily happen because everyone's got a stake in the term indie. And there is an emotional connotation to being indie. And you don't want to deny that...
Well, I mean, inside of Steam, there's a category, there's a genre indie.
Yeah. And you don't want to deny that someone like Notch or Telltale or whatever is indie, because they are. In certain ways, but they're also much bigger than your average developer, and there has to be some difference. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like the issue is not,
and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think if we have this discussion
muddied in, like, say, music. So, like, 9 Inch Nails produces its own music.
Yeah.
Dr. Dre produces, runs his own label, does their own music.
Yeah.
Nobody calls 9 Inch Nails indie.
Right. Although indie has become a genre as opposed to, just a description of how the music is
somebody like Girl
made.
Talk, I would say, they're indie.
Yeah. And what I'm saying is not that if we have this discussion, it's a bad thing and we need to deny people this title. It's the market has matured. That's a good thing. We need to discuss how broad the market is.
So your prediction, though, specifically is, like, the press make a bunch of navel-gazing posts on this?
No, someone big name makes a post about...
Ben Kuchera, there you go. We wrote you your next article.
I don't know. Anyway, that's all I came up with, so...
Alright. It was interesting listening to you guys' predictions because there was overlap and on some of them.
Yeah.
And I couldn't comment because I hadn't gone yet, and I didn't want to, like, oh, well, my prediction on that was this. So now now I think, since you guys have both gone the overlaps, we can, like, discuss, like, okay, well, that was different, or that's similar on that. So my first out the gate here, I did organize these, I put these kind of in the order I want to run them. My first out the gate is not sub-bulleted, but, 2013 is, I'm calling the year of Linux gaming. And by that, I mean, you will hear a lot of support announced for Linux gaming, a lot of frameworks announced support for Linux. Linux will be the big bullet point, right?
Yeah.
Humble Bundle has brought this on, Steam Console has brought this on. I think towards the end of the year, we'll probably see those articles kind of like Android was the big platform. You got to be on Android, got to support Android. Everybody's got to get on Android. And then you see the articles, nobody's making money on Android.
Yeah.
You know, and I think Linux is going to be the same way. I think there's going to be a lot of push and support for it, but I don't think it's as bad as like the Android situation because it's really like targeted at Steam. Like, no, we're getting our Steam stuff ready because, and I'll get into it later, more detail on this, but you want to hedge your bets, and it's like, no, I need to run on all platforms. And if Unity has Linux, which Unity will have Linux because Wasteland is going to ship using Unity, and they're using that to be like their first Linux game, and work with those guys to develop their Linux version. You're going to hear a lot of that. So this is going to actually, I think, we're going to be more than any year in the past. This is going to be the year for Linux gaming, really. Like, we're not talking like download Tux Racer now, or look, this one title got ported to Linux and it's, you know, it's Civ 3, you know, and it's like, well, that's great, I'm playing Civ 5 now, you know. It's going to be first party support, it's going to be some big titles are going to be on Linux, and it's going to continue. And, you know, it's again, it's Humble Bundle and Steam are driving that. So I think it's going to be a good year for Linux to get some love and attention. I do think at the end of the year, we're going to have articles and stuff written up and developers like, yeah, I'm just not making money on the Linux port. It wasn't worth it. You know, if I just look at it from a financial, since I'm only predicting 2013, that is not enough of a timeline to say if it ebbs and flows like Android did of like, now studios just flat out say, no, we're not going to support Android. We're just going to let you know we're not going to go to Android. It's not worth it. You know? That's further out than a year. So since I'm only covering a year, I'm not going to commit to that prediction. It could, and it could not. It really depends on the Steam. Alright, so my next predictions are consoles. My prediction for Microsoft is basically stay the course. 720, whatever it's called. Nothing major. Microsoft does nothing earth-shattering. They take existing things, Smart Glass, Connect, build them in, integrate them a little tightly. It's more of the content box they're trying to turn it into now. Nothing revolutionary comes out of the next one. No Xbox Live indie games at launch. No discussion of that either. Like, you know, is it going to be an indie channel and all that? There's going to be silence this year.
I agree with that.
It's not going to be addressed. And again, I only really have to be right for like 2 months. Like, the consoles launch in October, November. I really have to like get through December 31st, and Microsoft doesn't acknowledge what the plan is going forward. They'll just be tight-lipped. Microsoft doesn't say shit. There will be limited support for existing digital games. So some games will work, some XBLAs, some games on demand will work, and some won't. It'll be like when they went from Xbox to Xbox 360. Some work, some don't. Tough shit. Alright?
Bite again.
The harder tough shit is going to be, this is digital now. Like, this isn't like, I have a forever disc I can pop in my forever Xbox, you know, console and play. This is like the first of the, like, sorry, the digital world, right? So there'll be some backlash on that. There'll be some gnashing and wailing of teeth. I don't think that list is going to be significant, right? When you look at that list, I don't think Castle Crashers and Fez and these titles are going to be on there. I think these are like, you know, the older, you know,
kind of like it was
titles
for the Xbox.
Yeah. I don't think it'd be big ones. But there will be no support for Xbox Live indie games that you bought on the 360 working on the next console. At all.
I don't see that happening either.
Yeah.
No matter
They're not
what.
even going to port any of that. I mean, that would require them to bring over some XNA stuff.
And they won't even do it for, like, Breath of Death. I doubt it.
And I got a whole prediction on XNA later. So, that ties into the XNA stuff later, but yeah, that's not going to be on the console. That's not going to be there. Sony, I'm saying Sony is going to strongly embrace digital. Okay? Sony is going to lead the charge. Sony I'm going to say it's going to do some really awesome digital things. I'm not going to say certain I can nail it what it is, like it's going to be a subscription service that you just pay and you get all these games. But they're already doing get free games with PSN. They're already doing day one releases digital of games. I think they're already doing pre-orders. I may be wrong on that.
Some of them you can
pre-order and pre-install,
preload, and
yes.
then it'll.
And then at midnight you unlock your game. So Sony's kind of winning that, getting that in there. And I'm saying that Sony is going to leave gimmicks behind. Sony's going to release a straight-up console-ass console system. No Move, no 6-axis. Part of this is hope. Okay? This one is really colored by hope, but...
Like, one of the two companies is going to get sane.
Well,
one of the three.
No. I think Sony has learned its lesson. I'm hoping Sony has learned its lesson. Through the 6-axis failure, for nobody gives a shit about Move, it's like, you've never won on these things. So don't do some tablet-ass shit now, because everybody else did, because it has never worked for you.
And you've already lost
You have an
money.
opening. Wii U is doing this tablet-ass shit. You'll have a good year, of like, it's not working for them. Microsoft is all wanting to be cable boxes and shit. You got an opening to take the core crowd to say, yeah, you're going to play your Call of Duty 5 on a PlayStation. Right?
Yeah.
It'll be hilarious if they do marketing that says, it does games, motherfucker. Games, period, motherfucker. It only does fuck, it doesn't even play Blu-rays. That. It runs a game.
They're not going to do that because marketing is like the Ministry of Information.
That is true. It would be hilarious if they came out and said that. But there will be no, it only does...
It's always only done games.
Yeah. It's exactly. Like, we've always been a games console. Games console, like, what are you talking about? Like, it does I don't even know what you're talking about, So that's my prediction for Sony. And I'm saying at launch, round launch window, Sony's going to announce plans, not implementation,
right?
Plans to open up PSN to indies similar to PlayStation Vita. Because they're already doing that on the Vita. And they're looking at this digital thing, they're going to look at Steam and how well it's working. They've already done cross-platform. You can play Portal co-op. One person on a PlayStation, one person on a PC. They've already gone there, okay? So I think they're much more willing to integrate tightly in that market and say, hey, we're going to join them. We're not going to fight them. And
it may not have the nice tool set of XNA, but...
They may not. But they have the hooks. So that's my prediction for Sony. This is probably my most colored by hope prediction. Okay? Yeah. That Sony steps in where Microsoft drops the torch and becomes the indie console of the next generation.
Like I said, though, I think if Sony does it, it forces Nintendo and Microsoft to go, oh, hey,
Yeah, well, and also, I think Sony, their Vita has a collection of titles that is coming mostly from indies now because the mainstream has already written it off. The AAA titles have already written it off, and indies are continuing to release that. And so somebody's going like, look, the Vita is not a success. The indies didn't save it. But long term, if we grow a stronger indie base, then we have a revenue stream that somebody wants to get uppity about fucking Assassin's Creed, and, like, oh, fuck you. Fine, don't release on PlayStation. We don't care. We no longer have to accept you're going to be on every console, right? And we get a shitty port as detrimental to, like, well, I don't know the games off the top of my head, but Game X runs shitty. Far Cry 3 runs shitty on the PlayStation, runs great on the PC. That's what the reviewers write. The PlayStation's like, great. Didn't have to run shitty on the PlayStation. They just developed PC first and did a shitty port. So I think Far Cry actually plays well on the PC or on the PlayStation and plays shitty on the Xbox. If I've remembered my reviews correctly. Anyway, next up, Steam console will launch, holiday launch, with the rest of them, and will be, I'm directly going against Dylan here, and calling it a similar price. I'm calling it $500 for the new consoles as the introductory price tier.
Yeah.
Which all others have, that's
it would
what
make
it is.
sense.
Yeah, that's what a console launches at. Only Nintendo hasn't done that. And that the Steam will be a $500 box. The Steam console will be a $500 launch list, but it's going to have a significantly limited lineup because of the Linux requirement.
Like I said, though, I think that's basically what I'm saying.
They're going to have some winners. They're going to have some main titles, but like their catalog of launch catalogs is going to be pretty shallow because not every studio has shifted over and been ready. And even like game companies have been working for a year or two on launch titles at this point. So the idea of like now it has to add Linux is kind of late in the cycle.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be a good, strong Linux lineup for that because you basically have to take the Linux catalog that Steam has now and you have to have controller support and then that's what you're looking at. You know? So, and not a lot of, you know, like, and I'm thinking it's a shallow list in AAA names as well. So I'm saying it will be there, it will be $500, it will have a lackluster trial. Again, because it's 2013, I don't have to predict a winner. It's only 2 months of sales, that's not enough to call a winner. Winners will be called in 2014. Cancel that. That's, I don't want to, shit. Go away. Alright, the keyboard popped up on me. The Ouya will make the Dreamcast's timeline look like War and Peace.
But at least the Dreamcast was console.
I'm just comparing the amount of time it had in the sun.
Oh.
Like, it will make that look epic and long. Yeah, the Ouya is going to have...
So, relative to...
less than a month...
Nintendo
of Spotlight, and then E3 is going to announce the next consoles, and that's it. Ouya's out of the running. Done.
Yeah.
It's done. Like, it's not going to get serious. All the developers are going to be focused on the next console and showing off the next titles for the next console and getting press to talk about the release titles of the next console. There's no gaming press time for Ouya. Ouya dies, not with a bang, but with a whimper.
What you're saying, though, I guess, is Ouya would have worked halfway through the console cycle.
Had Ouya launched last year, yes, it probably could have got bigger grounds because there was a longer gap. But now, it is right before the thunder of E3, not going to happen. Alright, my next segment here is Kickstarter/crowdfunding. Crowdfunding for games, specifically I'm talking games, is going to continue to grow, continue to be more popular, more indies, more big names getting involved. Kickstarter, I'm contradicting you on this one again, is going to fade as the place for games. And the reasons for that is that Kickstarter is not games friendly. There's going to emerge a couple competitors. One of them, I don't know that we have it now. One of them will emerge and they'll be built in with fan forums. They'll be built in with digital distribution, ways of distributing the games. They'll understand things like, look, I'm going to ship you your t-shirt immediately and ship you the game in 8 months. So, you know, there's multiple contact points, there's multiple ship dates and things like that. And there'll be some specialization around the needs of a game that Kickstarter is not going to be willing to meet because it's going to be too specialized. And they will lose that. They will lose out, I think. But not dead.
Yeah.
They're just going to be, at the end of the year, it's going to be GameStarter and Kickstarter will be the main two, and then in 2014, GameStarter will kind of just take over, and Kickstarter will no longer be the place for like games funding type thing.
Yeah, I can see that. I think my prediction was more about crowdfunding. The concept is going to change. The perception.
Yeah, you did on that one. As the funded games get released, so in 2013 we're going to start seeing releases of some of these funding games, some of the major ones. The review scores are going to vary. There's going to be reviewers that like, oh, it's crap, and everybody paid all this money, and Double Fine Adventure is awful, and all that. Fans and devs are going to be happy. Fans will love it. I think they're gonna, not only because there's a sunk cost, there's a psychological association.
Yeah.
But the people who backed Wasteland, the people who backed Double Fine Adventure, the people who backed Two Guys from Andromeda, a lot of these were fans of the devs. And it's just like, I want to support you. I want you to make more games because I like your games. And I want you to give me more of this. And if it's not the best game of the year, they don't care. To that fans, it will be. The devs are going to like it because the funding model is going to work. They're going to have sales post-war, after that. The big ones are going to easily get greenlit and on Steam, no problem. Ones because they had a great built-in fan base from Kickstarter. So they're going to have a successful game financially, even if it doesn't dominate Game of the Year or discussions and things like that. So I think it's basically I'm saying there's not going to be that big failure. There's not going to be that on the face. The press will try to push for it, and it's not going to be there. Not in reality. Only in the press's mind of like, it's not in our top 10 list. Well, guess what? It made them a shit ton of money, and they're independent studios still, and they've grown this year. So, that's my call on that. The major publishers seeing this kind of shift to crowdfunding, and by major publishers, I'm talking EA, Activision, okay? They will attempt to Origin style launch their own funding platforms, and it will suffer huge fan and press backlash. So I am saying that EA or Activision or Ubisoft, one of these guys is going to launch one of their studios. Hey, guys, Far Cry 4, the crowdfunding project.
Okay. Are on their own site or on
their own site?
Like they're going to do up their own.
We're going to keep all this stuff ourselves. We're not going to go through Kickstarter. That's what I meant by Origin style. Like, we're going to launch our competitive service.
But not like a whole service dedicated to crowdfunding. They're just going to start out with one
maybe
game.
Kind of in that weird, like, EA, Activision, Indies Partners sub-program things they have.
Like,
but we're
going to do two or three of these at a time.
Yeah. They'll be, like, hand-selected. Like, okay, we want
from inside the company, not from... Okay, this is not going to be green light.
Still control everything, own everything, but get in on this crowdfunding action. We got to get some of that money, basically. I'm saying one of them is going to do that. One of them is going to go there.
If they do that, they're going to make fans forever hate. It's going to... whatever property, whatever development studio they put on that is going to have the same fate. Is going to be remembered the same way Kane and Lynch is.
Origin style. I'm saying that for a reason. EA Origin is the way it's it's Games for Windows Live, the crowdfunding platform. It's Uplay, the crowdfunding platform. It's a dark future that I'm calling for here. Okay, my X&A predictions. Microsoft will continue to not comment or announce any plans for X&A. There will be nothing more than the standard rhetoric. This extends to Silverlight and the other abandoned technologies as well. It's just, no. Nothing will launch. Nothing will be commented or confirmed. It's not going to move to another company. Sunburn's not going to shepherd X&A. None of that. None of that's happening. It's just going to sit there and nothing's going to happen. It's basically going to die in Microsoft middle management tiers and legal and go nowhere because nobody's really pushing for it higher up. Monogame will drop the 1-to-1 port goal and begin to evolve their framework. They'll basically say, we're declaring X&A stagnant, and we're going to begin to incorporate physics engines or scripting engines or whatever. But Monogame will become its own thing. It will branch and have its own future. I'm also saying something because I'm kind of watching it closely, but this is really what I feel. I feel this is what's going to happen. Sunburn is going to release its native X&A C# platform, but at release it will lack iOS, Mac, and Linux support, and effectively just be a niche option. Because it's really just going to be supporting Windows RT platforms, Windows 8, Windows Tablet, Windows Phone, and these aren't going to be enough of a platform to make it a serious contender outside of, it'll have some Microsoft stalwarts, will embrace and use it. And you know what? I mean, they've done some pretty cool things. They have a Sprite container, a Sprite batch thing working now. I think they have a content pipeline thing that they're rewriting, so they'll have their own content pipeline system. It'll be soup to nuts Sunburn.
Do you think if they come out with an iOS port that things are that will turn around, or is that just like if you don't have it at release, people aren't like, because everything else has iOS and Android plugins at release?
Well, I think they are going to, I don't think like this is any kind of doom and gloom. I think they will continue on at the level they've been at. It's not going to grow them because they haven't added those other platforms. Okay. Now, 2014, they get those other platforms, they could get very big. But in 2013, I don't see them and it happening. And also, it's me just kind of saying, like, yeah, I got to quit holding out for them to give me my iOS and Android, Linux, X and A, and just say, like, that's mono game. And I'm saying, as I sit down and I think about it, and I just kind of, like, seriously put thought into this, mono game is going to say, screw it. We don't need a content pipeline. We don't need this feature compatibility. We've got this thing here. We're going to take it in this direction. We're going to develop our own content handling system. And because XNA is stagnant, and there's no longer a purpose to, like, because also the number of games that would leverage a one-to-one port is going down rapidly as well.
Yeah.
Like, as it's teetering off, it's like, there's less of a reason to, like, have this awesome one-to-one port system. And just like, okay, guys, greenfield, what do we do for audio? Like, how do we fix this in a way that runs on all our beautiful cross-platform systems, and then they'll come up with it. And I think it'll be something good. I think it's a good thing for the project. I think it's a good, healthy thing. There may be some gnashing of teeth as that kind of emerges out of the community, but I think that's where that goes by the end of the year. Last, I'm ending on a high note here. 2013 is going to be an excellent year for indies. Okay? The reason I say this is major studios are going to be focused on launch window games. All of their big titles, all of their new IP, all of their best shit is saved up for launch window titles, okay? They're going to play it safe throughout the summer and everything. They're just going to release not even sequels. Like Far Cry 3 DLC. It'll be a highlight of next year. There's not going to be any major rev numbers to any systems that are not already annualized, and some of those, they make, Call of Duty next-gen systems. There might be a Call of Duty for all systems just because it's become like a Madden-level thing now, yeah. But you're not going to have to worry about competition from the major studios, because the major studios are going to phone it in this year, because their best IP is going to be saved for next gen. And so you have 2013 to fill in this gap. You have 2013 to be an awesome year for indies. It may suck to lose a lot of Game of the Year awards, because then the launch titles come out and then some of them are amazing and they dominate the mainstream gaming press conversations, because as I'm calling it, you have 3 consoles this year launching. You have Steam, you have Sony, you have Microsoft. And the launch titles that go with them, and a bunch of exclusives, and debates who won the launch, and all that happens in mainstream press, make forget just how well a summer of indies occurred, Yeah. So I'm saying, yeah, like, buckle down hard. Like, this is a good time to release an indie game, because you're not going to have competition lined up. You already had a lot of major franchises. Mass Effect, for example, released last year. They don't have a Mass Effect 4 ready yet. Alright? That is next-gen console. That is years away, what they do with that series. Right? So you don't have that to worry about. There's a need for RPGs, Like, you're just not gonna have, that title. So I think it's gonna be a really good year for indies. I think this is a good year for indies to jump up and shine. Whereas next year, following 2014, a little bit harder, because you're gonna have all these next-gen titles, not just a launch window, but throughout the year, just get lined up, bang out.
And even if Microsoft or Sony opened up a platform to indies, you're going to have a hard time competing with those, launch titles, because they're going to be like the polished, they're going to be showcasing the next gen hardware.
So that wraps up our predictions for indie gaming and indie games 2013, indie game developing over the next year. That's kind of, I tried to on mine, focus it in and just say like, hey, like, here's like, if you buy this logic, here's how you play this game. Here's how you come out on the winning side. Here's how you hedge your bets and focus your time, because you don't have a lot of time as an indie studio. You got to focus your bets. You got to focus where you go with that. Podcast updates. I'm going to CES next week. I hope to see some Steam consoles, not by Valve, of course. I expect that to come out like an E3. But I do expect some HP, Alienware, Dell/Alienware. Like, I would like to see some, like, we're targeting a living room big screen system. Valve had been working with PC manufacturers. They talked about that. So I hope I see some of that at CES. But I will be out at CES. We will not have a podcast Friday. But we were not going to have a podcast Friday anyway, because Chris Williams is going to be back on the show. Have we had a podcast with Chris Williams?
I think we, not like I wasn't on it, but I think there was one at some like.
We might have had Chris Williams at a Code Stock podcast. I know we had Chad and we had Freestyle. We had I apologize, man. Your name escaped me at the moment. Freestyle Coder. We had him on Show Up. We were there. Brian Prince was there. Did we have... I'm trying to imagine if Chris Williams was on there. He may have been on the show in the past, but I think this will be the first Chris Williams pod. Like, sit down and discuss with him. He's an XNA MVP, so, but also he's kind of branched out and been doing his own thing for a while. Started a more board gaming type thing, but started a game company, game shop. Come in and buy and trade game cards and things like that. So there should be a lot of interesting video game and gaming related and just following passion and all that. And Chris is a great guy. I've known Chris many, many years. And he is definitely, a guy that kind of follows his passion and is just one of the guys I look at in the community of like, you don't hear a lot from him, but every time you catch up with him, it's like, hey, you're just doing awesome shit. So, he's going to be in town Sunday, and he's going to give a talk to our game design group that Sunday, and then after that, we're going to do a podcast with him, and we'll set up in here, and we'll stream it live Sunday afternoon. Probably later Sunday afternoon. So maybe 5 p.m.-ish or so, you can expect that we'll start and record then, and all that. And it's wonderful he does that because he's traveling from a Carolina.
Yeah.
One of them.
Couldn't remember.
A Carolina.
One of them Carolinas.
Nothing could be funner than the
I think north, but I'm not 100%.
That's what I was thinking too. But
see, the thing is like it's 4 to 5 hours away, but both of them are 4 to 5 hours away. So, yeah. So he's traveling. So awesome for him to come out and do that, and hang out for a bit. Before we close out, one more topic to cover. RPG Maker updates the game project.
If you go by Dylan's tweets of, why are you updating so much? I'm doing pretty good.
I didn't say, why are you updating so much? You just started talking about
and you
stuff.
Were like, at some point you had like the Dropbox updates, man.
Yeah. Oh, I just saw a lot of things.
I don't see them because I can't run Dropbox at work.
Right.
So I just get home and get 20 files updated. Okay.
I just keep saying such and such updated, such and such updated. And, from looking at it, I know that some of them are external, so that was the whole discussion about hobbyists and whether they are good or bad or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
So how are you finding the tool? Check in with, like, GameMaker. Thoughts on GameMaker?
If I was trying to learn code, I would stab people, because it doesn't make sense how I've looked over y'all's shoulders occasionally to see what y'all are talking about with the coding, and you make paragraphs, and I see your paragraphs, and I'm like, oh, that does that, and that does that, and that does that, and I try the same thing in GameMaker to the extent that I can, and I'm like, this makes no sense to me!
So I think you understand in a nutshell why we've been so hesitant about using GameMaker or even Unity.
Yeah.
Because we give up, you call them our paragraphs. I think it's a good way to explain that.
That's what you called them the first time you told me about
Okay. Yeah, so we give up our paragraphs in favor of scripts, in favor of lines of dialogue or something. You know, it's like, that's all you've got. Like, you're no longer writing a paragraph and telling a novel and a story. Now you just have a couple of sentences.
If you want to try to do something that isn't supported out of the box, you first have to spend time figuring out how to undo or work around it. So yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how I broke one.
Interesting, by osmosis, we've already tainted you. Because most designers get in there to the scripting interface, and it makes perfect sense.
I'm betting it's not as well designed as GameMaker Unity.
I don't know either way. I remember when last time we checked in, I had made an NPC jump off the screen. I can't make her jump like she did before, and I don't know what I did to do that. I'm gonna have to just keep futzing with figuring out which page goes where, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I've got it before that page, so surely this page should go before that page and make that work. And I've checked like 15 times, okay, to make sure that I am not making, 1 second.
So, I mean, well, she's done a lot of work on the game. Like, it's not like 30 minutes. We're talking like serious hour chunks.
I've been doing it like a full-time job.
All day.
Yeah.
I drop the kid off, I go do a little bit of housework, and then I go downstairs to the computer, and I'm just like, doop-a-doop-a-doo, can I make this work? Doop-a-doop-a-doo, who can help me online?
I would love to, tomorrow, record a YouTube video. Like, let's open up the project, and you run through it where you're at, and you do just like a progress video that we put on YouTube.
It's not very big.
It doesn't have to be. It's not the point. The point is the journey, not we're not instructing anyone. It's just like that game dev vlog of like, you know, here's where we're at. And again, it's a marketing thing. So like the intent on this one, and I don't know if you're still feeling this. If you feel like you need to change and it has to sell for $15, that's fine. My thought still was like this goes up on a web page on Funkworks and people just play it on the web. Because that's a build target of, you know, and maybe there's a tip jar. Like, we're not, like, shooting for, like, Steam Greenlight on this.
Yeah.
But that helps build, Funkworks.com traffic, and, you know, if it's a mailing list, like, hey, you want future updates of what we're doing, and then, you know, just, like, we start building a fan base, which we haven't been doing a good job of yet. So that when people who've come along, and they kind of liked an Inca Blocks, or they kind of liked an XNA Invaders thing, or they like what we were doing with Captain Dubstep. We haven't been good about capturing them and being able to say, here's what we're doing, so that we can one day say, here's our Kickstarter, you know, and we have that built in, you know, because I still would love to do a Kickstarter that just says, we need a copy of 3D Studio Max because we want to go to the next tier, and that's what we need to do that. Unfortunately, I looked at that today and I'm like, man, it's still fucking gonna ask for $5,000, you know? Like,
yeah.
Anyway.
Although, like, having that base connected, you know, when we say, we don't know about, like, with Captain Dubstep, like, we don't know about this, you know, to have someone there to say no, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, at any point you start to go,
like
open, you have to deal with fan.
Yeah, but
if we had fans, we have to deal with fan back.
There may be some, like, marketing data there, like, no, maybe we should keep pursuing this because there is a fan base, and the project that we have fan base for is probably going to sell better than.
And that's back why my number one thing is to get our websites in order. And take care of the WordPressing. And I've got most of the starts, both of them done. Funkworks and GameMarx.com. I just need to sit down, just fucking do it. Just fucking get it done. Also, because I want to amp up the YouTube content. That's kind of another thing I want to do next year going forward, with just content that is relying upon me. This is, I think before you were in here, I was saying, my YouTube content that I'm going to up besides our podcast, which we do anyway, is 3 basic shows that I want to get into a regular habit of putting up so that there's regular content all the time. Not saying that every show has a episode every week.
Right. So you can move between.
Right. But I will be posting something every week, or at least 2 videos a week would be a good pace to get into.
Do you see the comment like, I want you to play the next thing with
Yeah. I was telling him, somebody already going to, I did a 2.5-hour run of FTL, and the first comment at the end of it was more FTL. You know what I think I'm going to do? I talked to somebody at work, because I did part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's well, if I did another one, it's not, now it's just a let's play. Now it's just I don't have the excuse of, hey, the mechanics is this as a developer that is worth looking at, which after the first 20 minutes were gone, I didn't make any kind of developer comment, I think, on that one.
Ooh, play!
It became a let's play. But I don't want to break it up into 5 videos again. So if I did a run through after the end of the first one, there is actually a logical, pick up and do a run through. Right, there's a sequel, and since I named them Part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think the next one should be Mike Plays FTL 5, 2.
Wow.
And I'm going to put it in
Final Fantasy.
I'm going to put it in Roman numeral 5s with a
dash and then
Arabic 2. Yes.
5-2.
And because
this is a slippery slope.
Because that thought occurred to me, that video will happen. Just for that joke alone.
So did you shoot way more than you've actually used, or are you going to go back and create a 5.2?
No. I've not. I've only played FTL once since shooting the video. The playthrough I intended to, because it's FTL, I intended to die 30, 40 minutes into the game and be done, and I didn't. I made it to the boss battle, and it was a 2.5-hour run. But it's an amazing fucking run. I'm biased. I enjoy watching myself play that game. I enjoy watching my own Let's Play on that game because it's really holy shit, he's down to 1 health again. That son of a bitch is fucking lucky.
Well, there's so much going on screen that...
Well, there's a lot going on screen, but I'm talking about, scraping by a battle. I never had a moment, I don't know if you saw the video, of the missile colliding with a missile.
No.
There's a guy, missiles always pass shields.
Right.
Okay? And the guy has 1 hull left, and the missile is fired from the enemy ship. If you watch, you can see the missile fire and then come in your screen. And he pauses it, oh shit, there's the missile.
I'm gonna die.
My engines are out. My evade is 0. This is
My
it.
shield is down.
And he's pausing it, stopping. Pause and stop it. Frame advance. Here it comes in. And then his missile on auto fire shoots. So his missile is shooting from the bottom of his ship. The missile coming in is coming up from the bottom of his ship. And they collide.
And explode.
And cancel each other out. And then his other shot fires, takes out the enemy ship, and he wins. And he's like, what the I didn't even know that was a thing. And that's what makes it so fucking awesome, Of these moments of where you think, you can constantly, learn these new little things, and I do talk about that, and they're this is great about, constantly, teaching you something else, or you learn something else to string you out and get you to play more. And as I think, so, yeah, I think I'm going to go back and, I unlock another ship, basically, and it was you should totally play a run-through with that ship. Because that ship is fucking awesome. I was looking at that ship, and, at the end of the video, the last thing is me just going, this ship is so fucking awesome. it has this, and it has that, and it, it has rims that spin, and, no, it doesn't, no, not that. But I mean, just like the stats of the ship and the way it's organized. What I did not notice on the video, but I noticed later, I played that ship once, afterwards, that ship has no weapons. It's like, oh, you're looking at all these awesome advanced ship?
Have you got the pacifism achievement? There is one where you travel like 5 sectors or something.
5 sectors
but I think for
firing.
pacifism, you can't destroy an enemy ship, right?
You cannot fire upon a ship. You cannot use your drones
Upgrade your
upon a
shields and
ship.
engines.
You can't board either, right?
Nope.
Yeah, so... Now, this ship is decked out with drones and boarding gear.
Oh, okay, no weapons.
You're
fine, then.
It comes with a 4-person boarding room. You can send an away team of 4 over at once.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. Crew tends to be pretty tight on my playthroughs, and I can't imagine,
If you watch my playthrough, my whole focus, that playthrough, was boarding parties.
Transporters are a thing that I wish just didn't exist, because I don't want to think about it. I don't want to deal with it. It's too messy. It's too much work. There's too much risk.
Also, the number of times I welcome the guys back onto my ship with mission accomplished. Like, wow, I ran that joker to the ground. Like, welcome home, boys, mission accomplished. Yeah,
Wow.
So I think I will shoot another one. I have shot an Unreal video, and I have shot a MechWarrior video to go up. So I've gotten ahead on content there. But, okay, so that's show 1. Show 2 is a similar variant on Mike Plays, but somebody has to be with me. Probably going to be Cicely for a lot of them. You may come in for some. I may hang out for some with you. And these will have to, like, be interspersed. There'll be multiple games at the same time. So I might sit down with Cicely and do Final Fantasy, but I think with you, it's going to be Link to the Past. So,
okay, I'm down with that.
It's going to basically be... I haven't figured out what the name is. But it's basically like the education of Mike or something. Because, again, I did not own a console between... Like, I bought the Super Nintendo and gave it to my brothers.
Are you willing to play completely through Link to the Past?
Yes.
Wow.
Like, these will all be, like... Like, I kind of regret playing Chrono Trigger on the DS now because I've already burned that one.
Yeah.
But these will all be like, no, man, these were fucking Star Fox. These are the games. Like, I don't know if, like, Star Fox will have to finish.
I'm kind of...
And I will rely
Having recently played them, playing, like, some of the Final Fantasy games, they're better on the GBA.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but there's part of
or DS.
I need to go back, and I can accept the limitations of the time. I can accept, like, that's what we took for gaming. That's how systems work. You didn't have checkpoints. Suck it up, You
have to wait while the text.
But you have to understand, between...
And by God, if you randomly get that damn red dragon...
Including the Super Nintendo.
That wipes
the launch of the Super Nintendo, and including the Super Nintendo, up until the Xbox... I owned and played no games. Anything released in that window, I've probably not played. So there's a good, meaty list of games, and it may go beyond SNES. I'm going to start with the SNES, and then we might get some other used consoles and bounce around. We'll break out our PlayStation 1, right? You have a PlayStation 1? No, the 2
No, I have a
one
PlayStation 2 that still plays PlayStation 1.
Okay, yeah. So we got PlayStation 1 games, we got some PlayStation 2 games, and I'll bounce around. But I always kind of want somebody with me on those who either played the game or finished the game at the time, so that there is something for me to bounce somebody off of like, seriously? Is that the fuck? Because I need you with Link to the Past. Because I have started Link to the Past several times, and there's a very specific spot where I stopped every time with, like, what the fuck am I supposed to be doing?
Was it before you got to the Dark World?
No, it's when I get to the Dark World.
Immediately?
Yeah, I kind of get to the Dark World, and I don't know, we'll play it, and I'll get up to it.
Okay,
like, there might be a quest or two I wrap up at the Dark World, and then it's kind of like, I'm not sure what the fuck I'm supposed to be doing. And I do kind of get annoyed at the Dark World. The flipping back and forth.
It is annoying. It is not something I enjoy.
So having a guide to, like, smooth over the rough spots of, like, yeah, this bit's a bit rough and annoying. What you really need to do is go here.
See if you have the Nintendo Power on it. That was extremely helpful because...
Well, you'll also be in charge of, like, co-piloting. Of, like, break out your phone and we game fax this shit,
Yeah. Nintendo Power was extremely helpful on those parts.
Especially that one.
But, like I said, I didn't like the Dark World, but the fact that it was so desolate and weird and different from the Light World.
Actually, I think I remember liking the music on that part.
So,
yes,
and then the third show is getting going. One I already started, Coffee with Mike. But I have a specific vision now, how I want to produce, shoot, and edit that one.
Okay.
It's going to be a little bit more higher touch to that. That involves that garage being cleaned. And I think I will start
having a
pushing
studio.
Shit. Yeah, I gotta get the studio up to do things in there. Because part of that precipitates being able to just Saturday morning, Sunday morning, whatever, just walk in that room, hit the button on the camera, and go. And it's just sitting there waiting for me. And I don't have to set up everything and get everything done just right. And even on my playthrough videos, I went back now to just mic and video. There's no more camera shot. There's no more. I slimmed down the production. I sped up the intro. So I'm kind of rethinking that a little bit. But they're all on me but they're the things I want to do. But they also tub into I need these things on the website. I need these things going to the website without this manual stuff. So I'm going to do that. But with getting the websites up is also devlogs going in. Having a blog for Xtiled and Xspriter would just be nice. It's on funkworks.com, but just being able to this is what we're thinking, this is what I've released, this is what I've updated, there's not a good system for that on Bitbucket. You know? So that would be nice. Getting those up, getting a nice page for that, getting a page for our company and all that coming together. Just getting that stuff in order. Getting our own house in order is kind of my first bit of the year. And I just gotta stop messing around with the space, with the Asteroids game for a bit, but I am gonna come back to that game. I'm still loving that idea. I've written some game docs. I don't know if you took any look in the Dropbox folder.
I don't think I saw that.
I've been making an effort to write down what I want to do with that game so that when I come back to it, it really is fleshed out. These are the systems, we'll tweak and we'll balance, but I got that figured out. So we'll do a progress video. I think it'll be good content. Again, just so you guys are up on this too, there is a distinction between GameMarx and Funkworks content, right?
Okay, I can totally.
If it is us making our shit, if it is us making Xtiled, Xspriter, our games,
Funkworks.
that is Funkworks. If it is gameplay videos and education of indies and thoughts on the game design and all that, that is what GameMarx is for. That is our outlet for that kind of stuff. So Funkworks will have a lot slower post rate, a lot less frequency of stuff going on. It's more almost press release type stuff. Hey, we've launched this game, or things we we should have done. Funkworks press release. We have entered a game into the XNA, Dream Build Play competition. This stuff by itself doesn't look great, but over time builds you that great site that, it's oh, look, all this stuff, okay, these are real guys. So, I feel pretty good about it. I don't feel we're going to be able to capitalize on it, but I do kind of want to get out a mini game or two and get back to rocks. And I may just bite the bullet and go into Blender and just I had an idea, and I know I'm the one that always says don't do humor in Kickstarter videos, but I had an idea of getting some of my special effect friends that I know. I have people that have worked on movies like American Werewolf in London and Ghostbusters and shit, contacts like that, to come in and help us do that. And have Cicely using Blender, and she's trying to use it it's not working, I'm trying to get it to work. And then from her mid-arm down gets ripped off and blood's gushing and we have to rush in and bandage it. And then, we're sitting around with her bandaged arm we can't keep using Blender, man. We can't keep asking designers to use Blender. It's not right,
Wow.
At what cost?
How much will they charge you for the video?
I don't know that was a great
I think,
idea.
That was for a $5,000 Kickstarter.
We need $15,000. $10,000 of our Kickstarter was to produce the video you just watched. $5,000 is to buy some software. That's where we're at. Alright. Wrapping it up. Again, stay for the outtakes and listen to some thoughts on gaming. We got into a really good discussion. Would have been good podcast content. So it'll be a good, interesting outtakes, not just a random shit outtakes, which I usually throw together when we're talking about. Thank you everyone who tunes in. Watch this live stream. Thank you everyone watching us on YouTube and downloads the audio podcast. We're going to be back in a week, plus a few days. We'll be back on Sunday next week. So live show Sunday, 5 p.m.-ish. Watch Twitter. We'll kind of have to play it by ear. A lot of things moving, but we will live stream like we always do. It just will be on Sunday. All right. See you guys in a week.
You've been listening to GameMarx. Visit us at GameMarx.com for the latest news, reviews, and videos on indie gaming. That's GameMarx.com.
I went back through my Steam list and started playing Recettear and Item Shop's Tale.
Yeah, you and half my fucking friends list. That and the other, like there was like a JRPG sale or something.
Yeah, I got this a long time ago. I think I heard about it.
YS Origin and...
Yeah, I've got that. I did not like that because the first boss just, like, kicked my butt, and I was like, I'm done.
This is the one where you play the shopkeep?
Yes.
So do you go on a quest, like a normal adventure, or you entirely the shopkeep the entire time?
You can hire adventurers, and basically you go in and you manage items for them, and you contribute items to their cause. And it's very much a farming game. It's a farming game with the exception that there's a time limit. Like, you owe money on your shop, and you have to pay at larger and larger intervals. So, if you miss the payment, and this would be good podcast content. Maybe I should save this.
Well, we can okay. Or we can outtake it. Yeah.
Anyway, the payments get higher and higher, but they're every week. So basically what you have to do is keep unlocking new dungeons and keep unlocking new items. And the way it works is if you miss a payment, you get to keep all your adventurer levels, all your items, and all your merchant levels, but you start back at day one. So basically, you have to figure out what opens what characters up. The problem I have with it is probably the problem I have with FTL, where you have to know where to go and who to talk to and what cutscenes to watch. But if you just go through and play it like I'm going to farm these items, I'm going to do this crafting, and then I'm going to sell, you're going to miss all that, and you're going to keep repeating.
The premise sort of kind of interested me, and I looked at the screenshots. It's
very, very tropey. Like, you will, if you don't...
Yeah, and I saw tropes from the screenshots, I guess. Yeah. And I went, no, I'm good. I am good.
I got bored of the
We're going to start a little late here anyway, because I'm still setting up my...
I got bored of the cutscenes, so that's really screwed me over because there's so many, like, you have to unlock characters and dungeons through cutscenes. Who knew?
I went and played, I finished Walking Dead. That is a fucking good game. But not fun.
Not fun.
Like...
Is this like the whole extra credits discussion on maybe fun isn't the, prime...
Yeah, so, well, so the whole extra credits of, art, movies, books, painting, okay, art, isn't always about fun, isn't always about, straight up entertainment and enjoyment. Sometimes it's about sadness. So at the core, right, is trying to share in an experience, evoke some emotion. At the core bit, art is trying to trigger an experience or an emotion with the viewer, right? Make a connection between you and the artist and feel something. And, movies, paintings, books, they run the gamut.
Yeah.
Right? Make you feel sad, make you feel happy, make you feel loved, make you feel alone, all that. And games only do the power fantasy. Only, build you up, make you powerful, Like, there's movies like that, too. There's a Harry Potter, It's like, boom, you're the chosen one, save the world, But that's all games do. Boom, you're the chosen one, save the world, in some fashion. Save the princess, save the world, help everybody out, beat the game. I beat the game. I won. Victory.
Arguably, I think there's a cultural trend to that, because if you notice, like, movies more and more, like, that's what action movies are. You have to save all the things. You can't just be a small victory.
But see, the thing is that is a genre of movies. Like, Avengers fits into that. Fine. But $1 Million Baby does not.
Right. But, I mean, action movies have increased that, so naturally, yes, games have become more and more that.
Well,
and that's all they are.
I think it's a sign of the infancy of the art form.
Yeah.
So first of all, it's kind of like a technology limitation. Like, you're not going to make somebody cry when you have 4 bits, to work with in color palettes, right? Like, it's going to be really hard to tell that kind of story and engagement. So now we're getting to the point where, the technology is kind of that point, but we're still in the mode of power fantasy is the game. Maybe it's a puzzle game, it's a mental exercise, right?
Yeah.
But we don't have our dramas, basically.
Well, the puzzle games
we don't have our Steel Magnolias.
We
don't have a game that's like, oh, that's like Steel Magnolias, man. Like, it'll bring you to tears and whatever and watch it, right? So I think this year, and I want to do Coffee with Mike when I start getting the garage cleaned up. I think I'm just going to go in there and start cleaning that, and get a space where I can start filming. Because I've already started making lists and topics and what I want to say and writing out little scripts with that. I kind of have an idea where I want to go with that show, and how I want to shoot it, and how I want to film it and produce it. And that's kind of like one of my 2013 things of like, okay, 2013, get the websites in order, and then get this Coffee with Mike show going, and then I have Mike Plays, and then I'll have a variation of Mike Plays. Don't know what to call it, like I'm toying around with like the re-education of Mike or something. So we're getting the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
And basically from like the launch of the Super Nintendo until the launch of the Xbox, I played no games, owned no consoles. Right? So anything that happened in that realm, which for a lot of people is like the golden age of everything. Yeah, it's their formative years. I miss those. So this would be like playing Final Fantasy 3 or 6 or whatever the hell you call it, This will be playing on the SNES, Maybe we'll get a Genesis and I'll check out some of the, the key Genesis titles or something like that, like Golden Axe or something, I don't know. But playing these. And I'm going to start off with Link to the Past. Because, famously on this podcast, I've said I've never finished this game.
Yeah. I think you will...
And I've heard so many people put it up there as their best favorite Zelda, Like, everybody kind of has their favorite.
I don't understand anyone who likes a 3D Zelda. I'm just going to say...
Yeah, there's not a lot arguing for, like, Twilight Princess. I don't hear that argument as much.
It more tends to be Ocarina of Time, which...
I hear Ocarina of Time, I have not played. Wind Waker, I have not played. Link to the Past, have not played.
I think you'll find it like the original...
And the classic one...
Yeah.
Is only guys like me. Only, like, knocking on 40's door... that you put the original Legend of Zelda as your first. Nobody really makes a case for Link's Quest.
Oh, like, Adventure of Link?
Number 2, Adventure of Link, as, like, their favorite.
It wasn't bad. It was my first Zelda game.
It was really good. I think it was really good.
I think what you'll find with Link to the Past is it's like... It's a lot like the classic. It feels like a natural evolution. But speaking of games as art, I think what I like most about that, and again, I was playing this during my teenage years, so of course, I'm looking at the game differently than now. But there's very much like this emotional feel to it with the music and, the fact that you're going into the dark world and it's all different and you feel, just kind of disconnected. So,
Walking Dead, and Spec Ops: The Line. I also played Spec Ops: The Line.
I need to play that. I've thought about jumping to it, but I'm not sure if I'm done with Recettear yet.
Give yourself 8 hours and you'll be done with it.
Really?
Yeah, it's not a long game.
Okay, you'll beat the game, not you'll be done with it.
Again, you don't beat the game.
Okay, you know what I mean.
You don't win Walking Dead, you don't win Spec Ops: The Line.
Well, you know what? You'll finish it.
Now, I found... Did you watch the extra credits spoiler episode on it?
That is the reason I wanted to play it.
Yeah, if I had not... See, that's the irony. If I had not been spoiled for the game, I would not have wanted to play the game.
That's totally cool with me, though. I'm that way with a lot of things.
I mean, but I still think that had I not been spoiled for the ending of Spec Ops: The Line would not, to me, be that big a deal. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, I think the Spec Ops: The Line ending is your Call of Duty bro guy, you know? Like your Call of Duty versus Battlefield, we're gonna have that argument, which is better, bro, you know, first-person shooters, you know, all that crap. That guy is gonna go, oh my fucking god, I can't believe they did this, and, you know...
Like, you have to play those games, too.
Because that game is really aimed almost at that type of gamer. Because it's like saying, stop and think what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay?
You kind of have to be desensitized to the genre for it to kind of kick you out of...
I mean, I see a lot of people of like, I don't think you didn't get it. You missed the point. A lot of people go in that game and they're like, man, the AI is dumb in Spec Ops: The Line. And it's like, no, the AI is supposed to be dumb. For one, it's going to come back later as that scene did not happen the way you thought it did. Okay? But also, it's a commentary on the first-person shooters of like, yeah, we're a gang of 3 and we're just going to roll through armies of thousands, you know, and just take them all on. And even in your Battlefield and your Modern Warfare and all that, it's unrealistic, you know, to do that. But there's a consequence. Spec Ops: The Line, then I'll get off of it. What I will say is worth playing for, the reason worth playing for it, because like I said, the twist, if you don't know the twist or if you don't figure it out before it happens, it's not hard to figure out. A lot of game reviewers I listen to spoiler cast of them picking their top games of the year.
I don't so much remember the twist.
Well, it's like
specifically.
They were like, I saw it coming. Like at this moment, I'm like, okay, guys, I see where you're going with this. It is the journey, and that game felt like art. I mean, for lack of a better way to describe it, it felt like a movie, an Apocalypse Now, a Stanley Kubrick Full Metal Jacket, the game, right? Like, when I was going through it, the details and the way it was framed, and now also, I won't say I'm a war movie buff, because that's not true. I don't like to see a bunch of war movies. I've never watched Band of Brothers. My father and brother are like, what the fuck? Why won't you watch War? I'm like, You know, I saw Saving Private Ryan. I'm good.
I'm kind of the same way.
But I like Saving Private Ryan. I liked Apocalypse Now, and I love Full Metal Jacket. And there's a lot of those era Vietnam movies that I watched, because they were a big thing in the 80s. Yeah. Right? Because that was a big thing to, like, you know, now it's kind of moved and it's commentary on the war, in the Middle East that we've been involved in. It's kind of replaced the Vietnam movie, right? With Three Kings and that kind of stuff. So they're good. So I've watched a lot of them, and I could appreciate the effort and artistry that they went through to recreate that experience in the game. I mean, night-night. Straight up to the point, you're running through, and they are playing the soundtrack that would be in one of these movies.
Right.
Like, you're running through, shooting people down. They introduce...
You basically already know how to respond emotionally to a war movie, so they're using the same...
Well, it does, and they talk about this in extra credits. It sets up that disconnect, right? Of, like, I'm having problems relating to this game. This game is intentionally kicking me out of the game and making me view it as a player and not getting immersed. Like, it's breaking the immersion a whole bunch of times. right?
Yeah.
There's straight up points on the load screen text where it's making comments at you, you know? And you're like, that's fucking immersive breaking. You know, it's like, oh, you know, we've got to get and save the 33rd or, you know, get to this next thing and, you know, like, no. It's like, do you feel like a hero yet? You're like, what the fuck, you know? But that's what it's going for. I mean, that's part of the commentary, the twist, and the ending. But I'll say this, like, running through and playing it, and when you hit the scene, and they do set up, they give some context in the world as to why this would be playing, why you would be hearing it. So it's not just soundtrack to the game. There's an in-game reason of why this is going on, okay? But you're running through a building in Dubai, right? So you're running through one of these rich, lavish hotels that is destroyed by a sandstorm. So it's got beautiful, ornate sculptures, right? Sand everywhere. And of course, there's cover everywhere in the game, too. Which I think the game makes a commentary of just how, like, the level design is intentionally bad to put obvious cover everywhere to comment on Real War does not have cover everywhere. Yeah. There's just not burned cars perfectly staggered so you can, you know, leapfrog down, you know, the alley, right? So you're running through that, and Hush by Deep Purple starts playing. There's a little doom, 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 and then you hush, hush, think I heard her calling my name now, huh? You know? And like that's playing, and you're gunning these down, and I'm like, this is fucking Apocalypse Now! And it's done so well, it's not cheeky, it's not over the top. Cicely did walk by in a moment. She walked by in a moment and heard, and she's like, really? Right? I think the song at the moment might have been like, nowhere to run to, baby, nowhere to hide, or something.
These are all like, more things you think of as being Vietnam era, though.
Some of them.
Or more...
But they do, there are Alice in Chain cuts,
I was gonna say, okay, yeah. They're not really.
I think they kind of have to like wedge it in with like, okay, this is what they did in the Vietnam movies. They don't do this so much now, but in the Vietnam movies, they juxtaposed the music of the '60s with the atrocities, right?
Yeah.
And I think they like invoke that, you know, with like because Jimi Hendrix Star Spangled Banner plays in the credits, and the opening title and things like that.
Vietnam was.
So they set you up in that mind frame of like, we want you to think Apocalypse Now, so later when we bring Nine Inch Nails and Alice in Chains in here, you're going to look at them and go, wait a minute, hold on. Like, I can't like, oh, it's Nine Inch Nails, rock on, jug it down, because you've already set me up with this Vietnam, like, the music is a commentary on the insanity of the situation motif.
Yeah.
That now, you know, when they've come to stuff the rooster and he ain't gonna die, it's like, oh, but that's not me being a badass, man. You know? I'm the fucking rooster. I don't know what that song means, by the way. I don't either,
and I don't want to think about it, because it's just...
Yeah, exactly.
It's just too weird.
So I played that, and again, I played Walking Dead. And The Walking Dead, again, is not fun. Like, the shooting in Spec Ops Line is okay, but I can't tell you that either of these games are fun. They were not fun to play.
Well, that's interesting because...
They were good art. They were entertaining. I fucking cried in The Walking Dead. Like, not like a little bit. Not like a tear at a Disney movie. Like, I gotta pause the game for 5 minutes.
Wow.
Right? It took me there. And now, maybe I'm predispositioned, right? Having daughters... Like,
okay, yes.
That would definitely... I could say, like, I could see somebody else playing this game not having the same issues, right? Even somebody with kids, I could see not having the same issues. But some of the situations came up. And I also have a brother who committed suicide, right? So, some of those things came up and they overlapped too well. And...
Yeah.
God bless Telltale. Like, to have a game... make me feel that and go through those emotions and like I feel like we're on the cusp now. Like Spec Ops Line pushed it a little bit, Walking Dead pushed it more. I think there's a must-play games as any game developer of like, this is where we need to be headed. Not in more negative experiences, but there is more than the power fantasy. I get why they did 2 episodes and extra credits down to Spec Ops: The Line.
Yeah.
Of like, no, this is the moment. This is when we truly become an art like the rest. Because we aren't a one-trick pony. We can make you feel happy, sad, isolated, alone, power fantasy. You know, like, the artist, the game designer, can bring you in. And, in a way, reach you like no other medium can. Because in The Walking Dead, you're making these decisions.
I think my problem with The Walking Dead, and I do remember downloading the demo on XBLA. I played through, like, the first or second scene. I was just like, this is not what I remember adventure games being and being done with it. But
it's not an adventure game. I would call it an advanced visual novel.
I could see that. But I think part of the reason I'm not into it is, one, I've watched The Walking Dead a little, but I just don't care, and I'm kind of over the whole zombie thing, which I totally get why, like, how...
I'm the guy that doesn't want to play Left 4 Dead anymore.
I understand.
Like, we have a regular crew that gets together and rolls Left 4 Dead, good friends. Like, that's supposed to be the great way to play a game like that.
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm tired of the zombie motif. I'm tired of being out of ammo all the time. I'm tired of being half dead all the time. I'm tired of barely making it.
I'm okay with that just because it's the team play aspect. But The Walking Dead, like, I feel like the zombie motif is kind of overused, and it's kind of... It forces a particular type of drama that I just... Like, I think there are other stories, and I would be cool with a game like The Walking Dead, I think, if it was not zombies. Like, you could get me into it. But because it's zombies, I'm like, eh.
Playing all 5 episodes, I'll say that, like, the point of The Walking Dead, and I think the whole title is a play on words. The Walking Dead is not the zombies.
It's the survivors.
It's the people.
Because,
It's the people. They're the Walking Dead. Like, there's no hope for survival. And it's humanity, and it's not... You're not going in and fighting a bunch of zombies. There's very few scenes where you're dealing with zombies. Most of it is dealing with the other survivors, people in your group, trying to keep some happy, you know, and they do a great job of just not stereotyping the conflicts and giving you a reason to win. It's like there are 2 people in an argument, and then there's like a moment where you can say something back person A or B, and you're like, I don't know. And then the other thing they do is they give you a time limit on every decision. So you saw that, right?
Right.
So that plays in of where, like, well, crap, it's an argument. You have to say something now. You don't have all day to think about what you want to respond, right? So they do a really good job of that, and I think the way they set it up, I would say it's look at it as a visual novel of like what a visual novel can be, rather than like
what a game.
Here's an adventure game.
Yeah.
Because the adventure gaming parts, honestly, only exist so you can walk around and talk to everybody.
Yeah, and I had this discussion with John of like, should it have won Game of the Year at the VGAs? Because is it really a game? And I'm like, I'm willing to grant it that, but I think a lot of its popularity was people were primed for it having seen or read The Walking Dead. Like, people were primed for that sort of experience. Which is cool. I'm not, begrudging them that, but I would like to see it.
They've earned their spot up there.
Yeah.
But some of that, I will also say, is the VGAs wanting to, like...
Be cool and Indian.
Like, look, we're not this commercial endeavor put on by these publishers. We picked this indie game as our number 1.
Based on this huge...
Now watch these ads for all these upcoming games,